Ever thought about what the Earth looked like 100,000 years ago? At that time, there were at least six kinds of human beings on Earth, and now there is only one, Homo sapiens. What happened during this period? Let's see how human beings have changed from an ordinary wild animal to God. Today, we will talk about the masterpiece, which is the brave history of humanity, by the talented Israeli writer Yuval Harari. This book takes less than 500 pages to talk about the story from 100,000 years ago to the 21st century. In the episode, I want to introduce one of the core series of this book, the cognitive revolution. If you travel back to East Africa 2.5 million years ago, you're likely to see these pictures. A mother has to watch over her child who is having a blast while taking care of another baby, and everything seems swamped. Some elderly people care about anything and take a nap leisurely under the tree. They are also muscly fellows, hammering their chests like gorillas, hoping to attract the beautiful women around them. At first glance, those kinds of creatures are much the same as elephants, baboons, and so on. During this period, it's just a group of wild animals, no big deal at all. However, they never expected that their offspring can land on the moon one day in the future, and even have the ability to destroy the world. According to the biologist's classification of different species, we humans belong to the hominid family, which has a large number of members. Distant relatives alone are numerous. Orangutans, chimpanzees, gorillas, and even more siblings, such as the Neanderthal, Homo erectus, and the Denisova homini, and the Javanese in Indonesia. When I was in school, history books said that these people were the ancestors of people from different regions, and that's not true. Today, all human ancestors are Homo sapiens from East Africa, the Latin Homo sapiens. Homo stands for Homo. Homo sapiens means smart. Although there are many races, they will share several characteristics. One of the most important is the size of the brain. For a 60-kilogram mammal, the average brain size is 200 cubic centimeters, compared with 600 cubic centimeters for humans 2.5 million years ago. We now have a brain volume of 1200 to 1400 cubic centimeters. Not that the bigger the better. The brain that is too big or too small will affect intelligence, and the brain expends a lot of energy. For example, at rest, the human brain expends 12% of its energy, compared with 8% of other apes. As a result, humans need to spend more time looking for food and energy. The second is muscle degeneration. Other animals give energy to muscles, while humans give energy to the development of neurons in the brain. In those 2 million years, human neural networks were developed, but nothing special was made except tools, and aircraft, artillery, and aircraft carriers were relatively recent. In the cruel primitive nature, this kind of thinking organ evolution, motor organ degeneration, is not an advantage. Gorillas cannot reason with humans, but if a close fight, certainly can make people cry. Another thing that humans had in common was walking upright, which made it easier to see where there was danger and where there was prey from the whole plane. At the same time, humans needn't use their hands when they walked upright, so they could do something else. The more they could do, the more sensitively the nerves that control the hand and the finger muscles had evolved to handle very delicate tasks like making tools. Because the making and use of tools is also the standard for archaeologists to judge ancient humans. However, there is also a disadvantage of upright walking. It took millions of years for humans to develop walking upright. The skeleton with a smaller head suddenly turned into an upright walking, and all organs could not adapt to it at all. This effect lasted until now. For example, we often have backaches and stiff necks. Women are not lucky because walking upright requires a smaller pelvis. The width of the birth canal will be limited. It will be no good conditions to give birth at all if the baby is allowed to grow to large maturity in the body. Therefore, childbirth death has become a major risk for women. If they give birth early, the head of the baby is smaller and softer and delivers smoothly. Therefore, giving birth ahead of schedule is necessary. That is to say, human babies in the world are all premature. How about other animals, such as lambs and ponies? They can run freely after giving birth for a while. Human babies are too fragile. They are raised, protected, and mooching off parents for many years. Meanwhile, the development of human social ability also starts from this. If a single mother wants to raise children, she needs the continuous help of her family members and neighbors, which indirectly forms a race with strong social relations among human beings. Normally, human beings have relatively large brains, tools, and complex social structures. Have these advantages made human beings the most powerful animal on Earth? No. Homo sapiens have been in an embarrassing position in the middle of the food chain for millions of years. At first, they will only hunt some small animals by collecting food or eat some carrion of the powerful predators. Can we imagine that? There is a herd of lions eating a buffalo. Would humans can harm the lions? Of course not. The answer is definitely no. The only thing we can do is wait patiently until they are full. Oh, wait. When the lion finished, there are also hyenas and wolves following behind. When all beasts ate them all, humans will say, "It's my turn." Sneaking to the dead body of the buffalo, look carefully and then smash the bones and take out the marrow bones to eat. The most common way to use the stone tools is to knock bones. This kind of living condition must be terrible. It wasn't until 100,000 years ago that Homo sapiens emerged, which led humans to jump from the middle of the food chain to the top of the food chain. And the fire was very important in getting to the top of the food chain. Fire can be used as a source of light, heat, and even a weapon to compete with big beasts. Humans can also set fire to the surrounding environment. As long as taking good control of the fire, it would turn the jungle, which is difficult to move around, into a vast field, and wait until the fire stops. They can find roasted delicious animals and nuts. Fire can be used for cooking. It is also the greatest benefit. Humans can get more food than before, but also do not have to eat raw meat. It takes less time to chew and digest, and the intestines are also getting shorter. Blood does not need to be supplied to the digestive system for long periods of time, but the brain does. As you grow, they would spend 6 hours eating raw meat, but now they only need to take an hour to eat cooked meat. What to do for the rest of the time? Thinking, of course. Inadvertently, the use of the fire makes the human brain stronger gradually. At this time, our ancestors, Homo sapiens, was still just living in a small corner of East Africa, about 70,000 years old. When Homo sapiens spread from East Africa to the Arabian Peninsula and spread widely across Eurasia, the native species soon died out. There are two theories as to how it happened. First, the theory of interbreeding, which says that Homo sapiens came from Africa to different parts of the world, intermingle with the native population and produce offspring. Another completely opposite view, called substitution theory, is that whenever Homo sapiens went to a new part of the world and massacred the native population, which causes genocide, the well-documented theory has gained more credence. The slaughter continued for nearly 60,000 years until about 10,000 years ago, when Homo sapiens became the only human species left on Earth. Why did Homo sapiens suddenly have the power to sweep the world? How it is that you can be invincible in the face of Neanderthal, who is bigger and stronger than them? Because of a revolutionary advance in Homo sapiens' cognitive abilities, an accidental genetic mutation changed the new way of communication possessed by Homo sapiens. Harari calls this change the cognitive revolution. We know that each animal has its own language. Birds, dogs, compared with other animals, human language is more flexible. For example, animal languages can express that there is a lion by the river, but human language can express how big the lion is, how many people we need, where to go, and how to drive it away. After the cognitive revolution, the language of Homo sapiens has the unique function, the ability to discuss function. What does it mean? The short answer is Homo sapiens have learned to make up stories, make up some unreal stories, and make up all kinds of stories. Also take the lions as an example. After the cognitive revolution, Homo sapiens can say that lion is a petrol sign of our tribe and can express us. The ability of functional concepts has led to the birth of math and religions, giving Homo sapiens the ability to cooperate on a large scale. Homo sapiens who don't know each other can work together as long as they believe in a functional story at the same time. This practice is being used today. For example, in a church, two believers who have never met can go to church together for worship just because they also believe that God has been crucified. Another example, in the feudal period, everyone believed that the emperor was the ruler sent by God, representing faith, and people would respond to the recruitment to join the army and fight for them. But the religion's imperial power is originally a functional concept. It's not real. That kind of fictional story is key to Homo sapiens' success. If Homo sapiens fight with Neanderthals, Homo sapiens may not win because Neanderthals are tall and strong, but Homo sapiens rely on fictional stories to call on more people to join the battle and fight with them in groups. Neanderthals have no chance to win, and they have no effective cooperation system. Homo sapiens gradually emerged from others and created towns with tens of thousands of people step by step. Relying on this cooperation, the empire well developed till the 21st century. Almost from birth to death, human beings have been influenced by all kinds of fictional stories, legends, myths, and beliefs. Since then, culture was born. Human beings evolve much faster than genes, depending on culture. Change the story will change the way of human beings' cooperation. For example, in the French Revolution in 1789, almost overnight, the French almost overnight changed their belief in natural human rights to people's democracy. For example, the cognitive revolution allowed Homo sapiens to develop at a pace that was far ahead of other animals. Homo sapiens became the ruler of everything. However, in the process of Homo sapiens dominated the world, it also caused a huge ecological catastrophe, and half of the large beasts extincted in the world. Human beings moved like the most dangerous species in history, and that is because of the cognitive revolution 70,000 years ago. However, human ambitions obviously go beyond that. Please watch the next episode, the biggest scam in history of humanity, agricultural revolution.